The enemy's traps are set in vain, for God has already seen them and has made your path straight. Their schemes will falter, and you will walk safely under His divine protection. God's protection surrounds you like an impenetrable fortress, making every scheme of the enemy powerless. Their efforts will amount to nothing, for His hand is upon you. Even when you feel surrounded by enemies, remember that God's protection is like a shield of light, blinding those who seek to harm you. No plan against you can succeed. The enemy may try to undermine you, but God's wisdom confounds their plans. He will turn their schemes into stepping stones for your victory, ensuring that you rise above every challenge. God's protection is your secret weapon, invisible to the enemy, but mighty in power. Every plot against you is rendered ineffective by His divine intervention. Though they conspire in darkness, God's light exposes their plans and dismantles them before they can take effect. You are covered by His unbreakable shield. The enemy's schemes are no match for the protection God has placed over you. Even in their most calculated moments, their plans will crumble before His might. God's protection is like a fortress, with walls so high no enemy can climb them. Every plot formed against you will shatter against His stronghold. Though the enemy tries to strike from the shadows, God's protection is a light that pierces through, revealing and dismantling their every move. God's protection is like a mighty wind, sweeping away every plan the enemy tries to set in motion. Their plots are as dust before His power. The enemy may attempt to deceive, but God's protection is like a mirror, reflecting their schemes back upon them. You are safe in His care, untouched by their lies. In their arrogance, the enemy forgets that God is always one step ahead. Every trap they set is met with divine intervention, turning their schemes into their own downfall. God's protection is like a shield of fire, burning away every plot the enemy tries to bring against you. They may plan in secret, but their efforts are in vain. The enemy's plots are like weak threads, easily broken by the strength of God's protection. No matter how they try to entangle you, His hand keeps you free and secure. Even when the enemy surrounds you, God's protection is a barrier they cannot breach. Their plans will dissolve into nothingness as He stands guard over your life. God's protection is like a canopy that covers you from every scheme of the enemy. Though they may try to strike, their efforts are thwarted by His mighty hand. The enemy's plans are like seeds sown on rocky ground, unable to take root under the power of God's protection. You will flourish while their schemes wither away. God's protection is your constant companion, rendering the enemy's plans useless. They may try to harm you, but their efforts will fall flat in the face of His might. Even in the darkest moments, God's protection is a beacon that guides you through the enemy's traps. Every step you take is guarded by His unfailing love. The enemy's plans are like smoke, dissipating in the light of God's protection. They may try to cloud your vision, but His clarity will always prevail. God's protection is like an unbreakable chain, binding every plan the enemy tries to set against you. Their schemes are powerless to move you from His care. Though they plot in secret, God's protection is your shield, reflecting every attack back upon the enemy. Their plans will be their own undoing. The enemy's schemes crumble in the face of God's protection. Even when they think they have won, His power will turn their victory into ashes. God's protection is like a mountain, unmovable and eternal. The enemy's plans are but pebbles, unable to shake the foundation he has built around you. The enemy may try to strike from the shadows, but God's protection is a light that illuminates all. Every plan they form will be exposed and rendered powerless. God's protection is a cloak that covers you from head to toe, impenetrable by the enemy's schemes. No weapon formed against you will ever prosper. Though the enemy conspires against you, God's protection is a fortress they cannot breach. Their plans will be scattered to the winds, leaving you unharmed. The enemy's plots are like fleeting dreams, vanishing in the presence of God's protection. You are grounded in his reality, where their schemes hold no power. God's protection is like a river, washing away every plan the enemy tries to build against you. Their efforts are swept away by his unstoppable force. Even in the midst of chaos, God's protection is your calm. The enemy's plans are like waves crashing against the shore, unable to erode the peace he gives you. In the shadows, your enemy weaves a web of deceit, but fear not, for God stands as your shield, blocking every arrow aimed at your heart. His protection is a fortress, impenetrable by those who seek to harm you. They plot in secret, thinking their schemes are hidden, but God's light exposes all darkness. Every plan they craft against you is already known to him, and he has set a guard around you that no force of evil can breach. The enemy's whispers may try to sow fear in your soul, but God's voice thunders louder with promises of protection. Though they may gather against you, they will fall by his hand before they can bring harm to your doorstep. In the stillness of night, when the enemy thinks they have the upper hand, God is already at work, turning their plots into dust. He is the unseen warrior, fighting battles you know nothing about, ensuring you remain untouched by evil. They think their conspiracies are concealed, but God has already dismantled their plans before they could even begin. Trust in his protection, for he walks before you, clearing your path of all dangers. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, for God's hand is upon you. The enemy may conspire in secret, but their efforts are futile under the watchful eyes of the Almighty. While they gather in darkness, planning your downfall, God is your light, making the path ahead clear and safe. Their plots will unravel, and you will emerge victorious under his divine protection. The enemy underestimates the power of God's protection over you. They scheme in silence, but every move they make is countered by a force greater than they can comprehend. They may try to ensnare you in their traps, but God's love surrounds you like an impenetrable shield. Their plots are already defeated, for you are guarded by the one who sees all. The enemy's strategies are no match for God's protection. Even in their most secret meetings, they cannot escape his all-seeing eyes. Rest in the assurance that you are protected from all harm. God's protection is like a wall of fire, consuming every plot the enemy tries to set against you. Though they plan in darkness, their efforts will be brought to light and destroyed. The enemy's plans crumble in the presence of God's mighty hand. What they intended for your harm will be turned into a testimony of his unwavering protection over your life. They think they can harm you by working in the shadows, but God's light shines on every corner of your life, revealing and neutralizing all threats. Your safety is secured by the one who holds all power. God's protection is your greatest defense. Though the enemy may plan against you, their schemes are powerless under the mighty hand of God, who guards your life with relentless care. The enemy's secret plots are exposed before they can even take root, for God is your defender. He knows their plans and has already put measures in place to protect you. Even when you sleep, God is at work, protecting you from unseen dangers. The enemy's plans are futile, for you are surrounded by a divine shield that no power can penetrate. The enemy's traps are set in vain, for God has already seen their intentions and has made a way of escape for you. His protection is unfailing, ensuring your victory. Though they conspire against you, God's presence is a constant reminder that you are never alone. Every plot against you is already dismantled by His mighty hand. God's protection is your stronghold in the face of the enemy's plans. They may work in secret, but nothing escapes His notice. You are safe under His watchful care. The enemy's plans are like sandcastles before the tide of God's protection. With every wave, their schemes are washed away, leaving you standing firm in His care. The enemy may think they have the upper hand, but God has already written your victory. Every plot they devise is already defeated by the power of His protection. God is your refuge, and no secret enemy can breach the walls of His protection. Their plans will falter, and you will rise above their schemes, untouched and triumphant. Even when you are unaware, God is actively defending you from every hidden danger. The enemy's plans are rendered useless under His divine protection. Their plots are nothing more than whispers in the wind, for God's protection surrounds you like a fortress. Every scheme they devise will crumble before His might. The enemy may plot in secret, but God's protection is an impenetrable fortress. You are safe, for His eyes are upon you, and His hand is your shield. God's protection is your assurance against the enemy's plots. Though they work in darkness, His light exposes every plan and turns it to dust. No secret enemy can succeed against you, for God's protection is your shield. He is the guardian of your soul, ensuring that no harm comes your way.